the CEO not having the ego that I am everything, because in that we can lose track of our mission, our vision, our value of the organization. So we want to make sure that as we are bringing on employees or outsourcing, whatever else, they even meet those requirements, right? They're coming from a different place than you have. So we don't know 100% their background. So sometimes we just need to kind of pull back on our ego, thinking that we are the end all be all.
If you're in that place where you know hiring, bringing team members on, whether they're contractors, employees, whatever you want to call them, is in your future, today's episode is for you, because we're going to be talking about and looking at, okay, I'm in this place where I know it's coming. What do I need to be thinking about? And my two guests today both have a ton of experience in hiring in different organizations, building teams in different organizations, and are in a place right now where they've got an organization that they know they're going to be hiring for soon. And so this is a great conversation. Maurice K, welcome to the show.
Atiba, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So let me ask you this. Okay. Let's start with why. Why in the world would you want to upset the sanctity of just being by yourself, having all the money come in, it's all yours, don't need to share it with a soul, and be considering either bringing in contractors or employees? Why?
So I'll start because my wife suggested that we need to go on more vacations. You know, we need to not stay up all night worrying and concerning ourselves with how we're going to get these projects done and allowing it to be on someone else's shoulders for a moment. So that would be the reason why we would be considering expanding into employees or outsourcing or whatever it might be.
So Kay, that, you know, since he basically punted to you, right? His answer punted to you, Kay.
Yes.
Okay. And so I've got to then ask, I mean, why do you want to go on vacation? I mean, didn't you start a business so that you could slave and work 80 to 120 hours a week? Isn't it why you got into business?
Absolutely. That's what we all got into this for, was, you know, to work those countless hours. But definitely it is to have quality time with one another, you know, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So there are times where you need to definitely lean on someone with more expertise, with more know-how, and that allows you that freedom and that time to vacation or to dive into other forms of business or to take the business in other ways. So to get back to basics again. So that's why I kind of hint at it.
Okay. And so I want to stay right there because you said something that was really interesting, because a lot of times when we think about hiring someone, right, we hire someone in and we have them do some work, and it's usually the crap we don't want to do. Let's call a spade a spade. Right? But you just said hiring with someone with more expertise and more know-how. I had to write it down, make sure I got it right, what you said.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm curious, especially with your background and your experience, why is that important? What have you seen in the past that makes you believe that that's important?
I think a lot of times people who are entrepreneurs get into this thinking that they have something great and they can just go forward and do it. But that's when we need a team, because you can't do everything all by yourself. I think pulling in others helps you to better visualize your goal, better visualize what it is that you really want to do. Iron sharpens iron. So it's great to have others on your team who are not yes men, who are not just doing what you said do, but are able to show you, because they're the experts, able to show you, oh, there's a better way to do this. Like, you have a good idea and you're on the right track, but you can do this bigger and better. And here's how. And then we're hiring you to do that for us. So I think, you know, and then when they're doing it, I can sit back and vacation.
And I can sit back and vacation. Yes, I love the exclamation point on that one, right? So I want to iron sharpens iron. One of my favorite phrases,
Mm-hmm.
and not something that we often think about in our employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if you're listening to us right now, and you should have thought about this, someone is going to start. You're going to have to do training with them. Are they junior level? Are they senior? Where are they? And you got to indoctrinate them into your environment.
Mhm.
So how does tell me about this iron sharpening iron thing with an employee that you're paying that's working for you, because that actually seems counterintuitive, y'all, to what we've all believed. So tell me
Mm-hmm.
about that.
So here's my thought on that. First, let's start off with the CEO not having the ego that I am everything.
Mm,
Because in that we lose track. We can lose track of our mission, our vision, and our value of the organization. So we want to make sure that as we are bringing on employees or outsourcing, whatever else, they even meet those requirements, right?
Right.
But then also in the same time, as we're bringing in these individuals, we have, even though we've seen their resume, we've seen their website, we've done their social media research, right? But they're coming from a different place than you have. So we don't know 100% their background. We don't know what their experiences have been. So just like for myself, Atiba, you had the opportunity to be on my podcast a couple months ago, right? And so from that, when as I speak to other entrepreneurs and we're talking to each other, but they have no idea what you've given to me in that interview, and now I'm able to give it to someone else. So we don't want to discount any information that anyone has because we don't know their background 100%. So sometimes we just need to kind of pull back on our ego, thinking that we are the end all be all.
Interesting. Okay.
I think the other
So go
part
ahead. Come on, Kay.
we hold a lot of information close to the gut, and to our heart, especially as entrepreneurs. We don't want to let a lot of people know because we're scared they're going to take our idea. I remember being in school and somebody's like, you have to sign off saying you're not going to take my idea. Like, we're all in school together. We're not going anywhere. But
Right.
he had a great idea and he wanted to make sure that we weren't going to take that idea away from him and, that type of a thing. So, but I think a lot of times we're scared to share and to build a team sometimes because we're scared that they're going to take our idea and run with it and not stick to the team and stick to us and to our vision and all the things that Maurice had just shared, the vision statement, the mission statement, and come truly in alignment with the company. So it's kind of hard, especially when you're starting out, to really find individuals who have that same core value and, will stick to you and stick with it.
So it's interesting what you guys just did, because you just gave two sides of the coin, right? Most people, focus on the side of the coin where you are, of the reality of, I'm going to bring someone in and are they going to steal from me, or are they going to cheat me, or are they going to take from me, or am I going to be? Nobody wants to be a fool, right? And that's the concern. How many ways can they make me a fool, right? But Maurice, you are on the other side. We're saying, yeah, but they can also make you really, really smart, because they're going to bring stuff that you've never even looked at, thought of, or considered, right? That's the same coin in the two different sides of it, right? The two different sides of it. And society doesn't make it any better, because, the government just passed the laws about non-competes. And
yes, they
and
did.
And especially on, dealing mostly with the executive levels, but you can't enforce non-competes anymore. And so now that lends to your fear even more, right?
Exactly.
And for those of you listening to us, you're probably saying, yeah, and I got these other fears too.
Most definitely.
But then there's what you said, Ken, and maybe it's not to take more vacations for everyone. There are a lot of people who want to be there. Maybe it's to provide for, college tuition, or whatever it is, the reason that it is here, right? And where I'm going with this, because there's a third piece I want to add in, and I want to get your perspective. So you've got the two sides of the coin of hiring, the good and the bad, right? You've got the what it is that I want to accomplish and why started this and don't want to work 120 hours. And there's also this, especially for those of us who started the business after leaving a job, whether it was corporate America, but working for someone else, is we want to be in control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is why
Right.
I stated about the ego. Because sometimes we can't let go. And Kay also mentioned it too. Like, we don't want. See, I think the challenge is that we don't want anyone that's smarter than us in the room. But we have to understand that in order for us to grow, I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's a personal life, your professional life, whatever it is. If you're the smartest person in the room, you really need to change rooms. Ultimately,
Say that again. Say that again.
You need to change rooms. If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change rooms. Most definitely. Because you're not going to grow and your business is not going to grow. And so let me go back to being an employee, right? A lot of people don't leave, first of all, because of the golden handcuffs, the salary and things like that. And so once you take off those handcuffs and now you're an entrepreneur, now you've put yourself in a position to grow. And now you have to seek out those that are in that space that you need to just do your research. I put it like this, generally, just your research, right? Hey, this is the industry I want to get into. Who are my potential clients? Let me go through my business plan, all those type of things. So we need to understand what that is. And as we continue to move forward, understand that, hey, we can't always think inside the box. We got to think outside. We can't be inside. We need to be outside the box, which is also a scary piece. So so there are a lot of things that as we start to hire individuals that we really need to consider. And it could be a very, very uncomfortable space. But we have to understand, as entrepreneurs, we will be uncomfortable probably 1,010% of the time. So just be ready for it. That's all. Just, be ready to sleep in wet swim trunks 100% of the time. I don't care what it is.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm on vacation. I'm sorry.
Clearly, this man is on vacation. Okay. Because, I heard entrepreneurs eating cheese and crackers, but wet swim trunk, that's a new one. That's a new one. Okay. So let's turn a corner a little bit. Okay. Because you just led us down a path of saying that, you need to really consider the process as you're hiring and consider these things as you're hiring, right? And so I want to ask you, as you're looking to the future and saying, hey, we need to bring in some people here, what are the things? Where do you start? And what are you considering?
So, as I move forward into looking to expanding the organization, I always have to refer to my human resources person. And I say that because right now you see that we are a team. We think similarly, but ultimately we are, like you said, two sides of the coin. So we have to be able to understand and respect the other person. So no matter when you go into any business, whether it's some type of partner, whatever it is, understand and respect that person's personality, their character, their perspectives, right? And so what I'm looking for as I'm talking to my partner, because she is co-owner, of Chism Group LLC, hey, Maurice, what are we trying to get at? What are our objectives? And then now let's make sure that whoever we're looking for, and mind you, we're looking at 2, 3, 4 people for the one position. We're not, we're not going to go blind totally, and we're not going to always go the cheapest route either, because that's not always, always the right thing either. But making sure that whoever are our top candidates, they answer or check off as many boxes as possible. Because nobody's perfect. No one's going to check off everything. So just make sure we can get close enough that they will be able to deliver on our, whatever we're looking for. Anything you want to add?
I think a lot of it, when we're trying to match individuals, and I can speak both from my corporate experience to also here in the entrepreneurial experience, but I'm always looking a little bit for personality as well. How are you going to work with the rest of the team? Like, you may be excellent in your gift. You may have 5 degrees. However, if you're not able to laugh like we've been laughing today, if you're not able to be uncomfortable and wear wet swim trunks every now and then you're not.
Y'all heard it. They are into wet swim trunks, y'all.
They are totally. But, whatever it is, again, to the mission, the vision of the company, like, if you don't fit in with that, then it's going to be an issue. Again, whatever you bring to the team, I think a lot of things are teachable. And so there's some things that, again, you may get someone to consult out and you bring them in just to do one task. Okay, well, they don't have to, schmooze with the team that much. We're not bringing them to the holiday party. But for those that are there with us, again, we want to make sure that they align with us and our mission and what we're doing. And again, some things are teachable. Some things are trainable. Yes, that's why they have HR trainings. That's why, hey, if you're not well in Excel, we can put you on LinkedIn Learning and you can learn a whole lot of things there. So, but again, it's that iron sharpens iron. Our strengths and our weaknesses, we help one another out. So I think that's key. Like, again, as Maurice said, there's no perfect person that you're going to hire and bring onto your team. But you look at where you are and you try to figure out where the gaps are. And you try to fill in the gaps as much as you can with what's needed.
So let me ask you, from what you're saying, it sounds like the fit and the personality, right, and the alignment with the vision is an unconditional check mark that you must have. Is that fair?
I think that's fair to say that. I think that's for where we are in our company. I think it has to be, you have to have that connection, because that's where we're started. That's the backbone of our company. If we didn't stand in alignment with our vision and our purpose, then we'd just be doing anything. You know what I mean? So, and again, I'm not saying that person's vision and their own personal purpose has to be equal to ours. But if you're coming in and you're providing a service, we want you to understand why we're doing what we're doing. Right. And that's that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's something too that, as you're listening to us, I'm hoping that you're picking up on, is that, and we talk about it here on this channel all the time, that you hire for fit first. But in order to hire for fit first, you got to know what they're fitting in.
Right.
Right. And so yes, you got to know your vision. You got to know your purpose. You got to know your values. You got to know where you're going. You got to know what you stand for. You got to know who you are. And that's what you're hearing Maurice and Kay say today. Right. That's what you're hearing. And so we've had, in all honesty, we've had people who have built massive companies on here, and they say the same thing.
Great.
Because it's so important that fit happens.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Right. And that alignment. Yeah. So that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So it does lead to the question of, how do you know when someone fits? And so I'm now asking, from both of your background of hiring, right, corporate and other organizations, how do you evaluate that this person fits?
You can start off.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
So in an interview process, I like to do role play.
Okay.
So I like to do, what if questions. So, if this happens, if we're client facing, so what if the phone is ringing and a client comes in and, the email is binging, what do you do? What takes precedence? How do you handle that? So it lets me know how they're going to handle stress. They lets me know how they're going to, which is most important? Is the person that's standing in front of you, or is it the person that's on the phone? Because now the phone's going to go to voicemail. They're going to think something of us, so how do you handle all of that? So again, I do some of those things in an interview process, and that allows me to kind of understand their thought process and how they answer it. If they tie it back in again to our values, if they tie it back into our mission, like, hey, if our mission and our values are this, are you answering it in a way that align with that? So that's a little bit how I kind of figure out a person and their personality and if they'll fit in, because I give them real life day-to-day situations like, hey, yesterday this happened. How would you handle it? So, yeah.
So let's say, and Maurice, you mentioned it earlier, we don't just, take the first person off the bus and say,
Right.
you're in,
Right.
right? And so let's say now you got it down to 4 candidates, right? In those scenarios and role play, do you give all 4 of them the exact same role play scenarios, or do you vary it?
For myself, I give them all 4 the same, because it allows me to then analyze things there. Now, the conversation may go further and I may go into more, but I always have like one key scenario that I start off with for myself. So, yeah.
Okay. It's great. So then let's stay there in the interview, right? And we're always learning. We're always growing.
Yes.
Right? And I do a lot of role playing interviews too, so we're there. And I know that there's sometimes when I come up with a scenario, and I've got a group of people going to interview, and I come up with a scenario, I'm like, okay, we're going to use this, and I try with the first person, and it completely bombs because I didn't explain it well. I didn't.
Right.
In that case, for someone who's new, that can be very flustering. Right? Do you stick to your guns and use the exact same scenario in the exact same way, or do you change it for the next set of people, knowing that you won't have the same data set to measure against?
For myself in the past, I would have to say that I used the same question in the same scenario. Again, like I said, I will probe, I will certainly add more to it, and I may add a second question or something, to that role play. But I like to stick to this. I have a background in research, so I like to stick quick to this, same thing, so that again, I'm able to truly know, like, hey, in this real life situation, you would do these things. Now, again, I may change how I present that question and that scenario, but I try to stick to the same things. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so Maurice, now let's say a choice has been made. Boom, this is the person, and they're starting. Now, and really, I want you to start answering this question, but I would love for both of you, because I think together y'all have very different perspectives. And most of us don't have the luxury of having what the two of you have, of, that the person who's out front leading the company and the person who's in charge of HR and understands the HR side and that process side, right? So this person starts. They're starting on Monday. Now what?
They just start on Monday. So no, no, honesty, no. Let's say, I think what I know for myself, I like to try to find ways for this individual to feel at home immediately. And here's the reason why I focus on that. Because back in my corporate America days, I had, and she could tell you, I started a position, my coworker was pregnant and she was out, and my supervisor, because of religious purposes, she had to go and for funeral, she had a funeral, so she was gone for a month. So I had to hold down a whole department for a month, close to a month and a half. And I had no experience, right? I had no idea. And it was very, very difficult in that transition. I didn't have any paperwork or anything. So I know for myself, I really would love for this onboarding process to have, because as Kay talks about all the time, hey, write down your desk procedures. Where are their real expectations? How are we going to transition from one employee to another, especially since everyone thinks a little bit differently, and understand like, hey, what are our real ice breaking situations that we're going to have, so that person can feel comfortable as they come on that Monday. Because just like it's going to be stressful for them, it's going to be stressful for you. So find a way to kind of break the ice, whether it's, hey, I bought you a bacon, egg, and cheese, like
and a wet swim trunks.
right, and a Mai Tai, like whatever it is, right? But I think those are the type of situations that I know I've tried in the past with other organizations that I help with the hiring process. Hey, this person's coming on Monday. All right, so let's find out where are some of the commonalities. Let's really have because during the interview process, it's a little more business, it's a little more straight up and down, straightforward in some cases. Now let me find out who you really are, find out, what you really bring to the table. Are you creative? Are you thinking outside the box? Are you really trying to toe the company line? So that way I know how to maneuver on Tuesday because I got to get past Monday. I got to get to Tuesday and Wednesday. So I need to understand how this individual really processes the information. But let's do it in a fun, casual way instead of, hey, here's everything. You need to read all these manuals, because that doesn't work. And now they're overloaded, and then more than likely they'll quit in 2 or 3 months. So that's something that I don't want to do. So I just want to make sure I find some way to break the ice.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's key to make them feel like they're part of the team. Like that's what you brought them in for, was to be a part of the team and to be a team member. So I've been in the same situation where you start day one and they give you a bunch of manuals. Here's some manuals. And then log on and do this, online tutorial on your own. So you're so isolated and you don't feel like you're a part of the company. Like you joined a company and you want to be a part of that. So I'm like Maurice, I feel as though you need to have some type of system in place where individuals, and you may not remember everyone's name, but you're meeting with the team, where you are talking about and learning from others what they do and how you fit within, what your cog is in that whole wheel and how you can move things forward, what their goals are. Like, hey, I currently do this, but I would love to be able to do more. And now that you're here, we can get it done. Love to have those kind of conversations. I think that's what is needed for that first week. I did have a position where I remember starting and they gave me an agenda, like, here, day one, you're going to meet with this person, and day two, you're going to meet with that person. But it was all there, and I was able to take notes, and I met people and I knew what they did. And I knew at that particular time what I had to do and what my role was going to be with those people. Because if my supervisor felt as though it was important for me to sit down for a half hour with this individual, they must be someone important. And we had that conversation because they weren't in the interview process, but it was someone I was going to work with in the team.
Right.
So it was key for me to talk to them and find out what they did. And it was key for them to understand what value I brought. Like, why was I hired? It wasn't because my uncle worked there. It was because I'm value. And and this is what I can bring and what I hope to bring, from the interview. This is what I've learned and what I hope to bring to the organization and to the team. So I think that's key, day one, week one, that you're doing that. And then follow up. Hey, you met with all the people. What are your thoughts? How do you see things moving? Do you want to meet with them weekly? Do you want to meet with them monthly? And then kind of go from there. What are your overall goals? Because we're going to do a performance evaluation in a year. We want to know what you want to do and how you want to do it. And then here are some things that our company offers outside of our team, but maybe the company offers more, or we're willing to encourage people to do more. So, and again, that ties into entrepreneur again, because like I said, there's a lot of free things out there or very low cost things that are out there. And if those that are on our team that we're bringing on, if they're valued and they value themselves, then they don't mind paying $50 for a course. You know what I mean? Because they know that the value that it's going to bring not only to the company, but the value that it will bring to them personally.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating to listen here as to the parallels. So the parallel that you drew up front was an unconditional check mark is you've got to fit. And we defined that, right? You got to fit. And then, and so the beauty there is in the interview process, you're evaluating if they fit. And then both of you said, and on day one, We're going to now prove to them why they fit
Right.
Right.
and have them understand why they fit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And how that match happens. And I think that's very, very crucial, right? One of the big reasons people fear hiring is turnover,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the big reasons people turn over is because they didn't fit or they didn't know how to fit,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right? And it's exactly what you're saying. So I think this was absolutely wonderful what you guys brought. No, seriously, like this is a beautiful package that you guys put together there. Really, really appreciate that. My question now though is, because you've shared all of this wonderful knowledge with us, who the heck are y'all? And what do y'all do? Y'all know we having fun, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
No,
right.
but
Most
seriously,
definitely.
who and then who do you serve and how can people reach you?
All right. So we are Maurice and Kafi Chism. We are the owners of Chism Group LLC. We are small business consultants. And we are an organization where we help CEOs, business leaders, board of directors, things like that, understand their, first of all, their worth and their value, because we like to encourage, right? But ultimately, we help our organizations to stick to their mission, vision, and value. Because a lot of times, like you said, in this place of onboarding or competition on social media, whatever else, we lose track of who we really are in certain situations. So that's where we are. We are an organization that keeps people on track ultimately, and especially those that are emerging in their fields, things like that. We have primarily focused on nonprofits and religious organizations because we grew up in church. Actually, we met in church, right?
All right.
So that is one of our true foundational pieces. And so because of that, we focus on especially religious organizations, because some people get too caught up on what the next church is doing, just like anybody in corporate America, right? But they lose track of who they are and what they're really serving and what they really need to accomplish within that particular community, because they lose track of who they're actually serving and understand their sustainability and things like that. So that's who we are.
Fantastic. Y'all, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure
What's
being
interesting, this is y'all actually the first husband and wife team that we've had on the show.
here.
And man, y'all crushed it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right. So thank y'all for being here. And for you guys listening, one, thanks for still being here with us. Number two, I hope you heard it. I hope you heard it, right? Because they said it. If you're in the place where you're ready to start, you know that that's the future. You got to figure out first what it means to fit in your organization. What is the culture of your organization? How do you define that? And then evaluate people against that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You heard Kay say, hey, we can train on a lot of things. LinkedIn Learning is fantastic. But if they don't fit, it doesn't work.
Right.
And then when you determine that they do fit, as soon as they start, Maurice said day one on Monday, we start helping them understand why they fit and making them feel at home. Y'all, thank you for being here. Y'all have been a pleasure.
Thank you
And for
very much.
everybody else, I'll see you next time.
Thank
Talk
Bye-bye.
to y'all later.
See you later. Thank you.
And as always, Build Your Team is brought to you by Client Attraction Pros. Hey, it's time that you become the thought leader of your industry, and we're going to help you do that and make it fast, easy, and fun.